Hello, welcome to the 225 Q&A class. We're going to start off with plaintiff questioning. Okay, ready? Mr. Clary, do you recall about what time during your shift that day that the accident involving Mrs. Packard occurred? I think it was between 7 and 8. I haven't got an exact time, I can't remember. Between 7 and 8 p.m.? Yes. Were there any other employees on duty besides yourself on that date approximately at that time? Yes. How many? There was a box boy and 2 cashiers. Do you remember their names? One of them was Ian Taylor. I'm not sure if the other was Dylan Donaldson. Sherry Elliott was also on duty. On this date, May 11, 2014, those were the only employees besides yourself? I'm pretty sure that's correct, yes. There was a meat man, but I'm not sure which butcher was working on the department that day. Was he somewhere back in the meat department? Yes, I guess. Please speak directly into the microphone, Mr. Clary, so the court reporter can hear you. Do you know if any of these people have left the employment of Albertsons? No, they haven't. They are still there? The ones I just said, yes. Do you know the store number there? Yes, it is 720. Do you have a specific way of referring to the Albertsons located at 4301 14th Street in Washington, D.C.? 14th Street or 720? Okay, from now on, when I refer to this store at 4301 14th Street, I will refer to it as the 14th Street store. Okay, please answer clearly with a yes or no answer. Yes, okay, Your Honor. At the 14th Street store on or about May 11, 2014, was it a practice to stack cases of canned goods for display purposes at the end of the aisles? Yes, it was. And who usually did the stacking? Bill Delgado, the store manager. Does anybody else besides the manager stack the cases on their end caps? I do, and also the third man. At the time, we were all involved in setting up the merchandise displays. Who was the third man at the time? David Cummings. I will show you a photograph that was taken immediately after the incident. I will show it first to counsel. Yes, I am familiar with this. The photograph is marked on the back of plaintiff's photo number 1C. Were these marked for identification? Yes, Your Honor. I will ask you to take a look at the photograph. Do you recognize what it depicts? Yes, I do. What does it depict? At the end cap display of Mountain Pride mixed vegetables. What location in the store was this display? At the end of the aisle, aisle 15. As far as north, west, east, south, where is aisle 15? It's at the south end. It's near the south exit in the store. When you say end cap, what are you referring to? The gondola or the table. These are the tables. It's a long table with shelving all around. Now, with respect to this photograph, the cans of Mountain Pride vegetables are displayed at the end of the table. Is that correct? Yes, they are. Would you describe the composition of this entire display? Well, the tables are 3 cases wide, approximately 4 cases, possibly 5 cases. I can't tell by this photo how along the back. It goes back along the display, and so let's stop there. Go to photograph 1B, which appears to be a clearer picture of the same display. And again, this is marked 1B previously. Yes, Your Honor. Okay, I've seen it. Now, you said that the cases that appear in front of the bin were not there on the date of Mrs. Packard's accident. Well, again, please speak up, Mrs. Clary. If you are not sure, just tell us that. I'm trying to think. At that time, they may have been there, but generally this isn't a practice to display merchandise cases in tiers of 6 cans. But they may or may not have been there on the date of Mrs. Packard's accident. Is that correct? That's right. The usual manner that the customers take the cans when they shop from that display is then taken, or they take them out of the dump bin. Please look at Plaintiff's 1B, referring to the cases that are stacked on the back of the table, the shelves, the very bottom case of the stack. What is that case resting on? Other cans or on the bin? In this particular display, I would say it is on the bin itself. By looking at the photo 1B or 1C, are you able to tell whether it's resting on the other cans or on the bottom of the bin itself? From the size of the case, I would say it would be on the bin itself. I'm almost positive that 3 food cases will fit inside the bin, especially the way they are set, and it is so far from the perimeter of the wall. All right, so I'm going to switch transcripts here. This is going to be defense questioning. All right, here we go. Did this dune buggy have a top on it, or was it open at the time? No, it had no top. I didn't really ask. I have been assuming no one was in the dune buggy besides yourself and Corey. Correct, just the two of us. Between the time that you left the Parra's residence and the time that you arrived at the lake, had Corey had anything of an alcoholic nature to drink? Not since we left the Parra's residence, no. We might as well talk about your employment a bit. You have already told me what you did there. Was that essentially what you did at all times when you were employed by Southern California Edison? That's correct. What was your rate of pay? $16.76 an hour. Was that a 40-hour week? I was working 1,400 hours a year. Is that something that you figured out? Is that something that they've told you? I couldn't work more than 1,400 hours a year. Why? Because it was considered like a part-time position. There's another name for it, intermittent. Did you actually work the 1,400 hours per year? Mr. Ventura would always work us just under the 1,400 because if they worked us over, they had to make us permanent immediately. They didn't have any option the 2 years I was there until after I left. Now, if you had stayed on with the job, assuming the accident hadn't happened, you hadn't been injured, if they had a permanent opening, would you be eligible for that? They had 2 permanent openings. My boss held the first one open for me as long as he could. That's why I was working there, to work up to the working full time. They had excellent benefits and pay for a woman. Your boss is Mr. Ventura? Yes. Is he still there? Yes. Approximately when did he get these permanent openings? I think 3 months after I had the accident, the first one, and he didn't put it out to bid is what it is called for a while because he kept on calling me, asking me if I could come back. All right. Then was there another opening at some later time? Yes, that was about 6 months ago. And did he call you about that one too? No, by that time my disability had run out and they had terminated me. And if you had taken a permanent position, how many hours per week would that be? 40. Same rate of pay? No, I got raises even when I was on disability. I would have been making a lot more money. Including the raises for the moment, does a full-time or permanent employee receive the same thing as an intermittent employee? That's correct. You get raises every 3 to 6 months there. Have you calculated your potential loss of earnings from the time of the accident to the present time? No. Go ahead, counsel. Do you have a rough estimate? A 20-year career and a pension, it has not been calculated. What is Mr. Ventura's position? Business manager, and that's here in Yucca. And what kind of benefits do you get working for Southern California Edison? Do you pay for your own medical? Do they pay for it? Well, this is full-time you are talking about, or as I was? Full-time. Full-time, I believe you pay a portion for your medical. Then they have a stock program. Stock option program? Yes. Is that part of the pension program, or is that a profit-sharing type of thing? That's something you buy until you do retire. Do they have a pension plan besides that? Yes, and then they have a pension plan. All right, anything else? Disability insurance, I'm sure? Yes, after the disability insurance, you have an insurance policy that pays for disability for as long as you are disabled, which I don't have. Now, as an intermittent employee, what benefits were you entitled to with the company? None. If I had stayed on as an intermittent, yes. You didn't get anything other than that required by the law? Just raises, yes. Before going to work for Edison, what is the last job you had? The marshal's job in Palm Springs? No. The Indio Police Department? No, I worked something else. I work for American Service Bureau. Explain what the American Service Bureau is. You do the physicals for insurance companies. What was your function there? I went to the residence and did the physicals for the insurance company. Are you an LVN or an RN? No, they trained us and it was just a courtesy for the customers. For life insurance policies? Uh-huh. Yes, yes. Did you take blood pressure and pulse and history? History, medical history? Yes. How long were you so employed? Well, about 6 months. Were you off work for about 2 to 3.5 years? I was off work for a couple of years. Were you looking for work during that time? No. You were a housewife during that time? Yes. Prior to going to work for the American Service Bureau, had you been unemployed for approximately 2.5 years? A rough estimate, yes. Your position prior to American Service Bureau was with the Indio Police Department? That's correct. Prior to that was the Marshal's office? There was a year I went to school in between the Marshals and the Indio Police Department. Was that College of the Desert? College of the Desert, yes. Insofar as you are aware, are the medical expenses approximately $17,000 as incurred to date? That sounds approximately right. I don't have a current total handy. It changes weekly. You have not been employed at all since the accident? No. Have you sought employment of any kind since the accident? No. Taking into consideration the present condition of your right shoulder, do you know of any occupation that you could perform at the present time? At the present time, no. I know what they have missed. The bed. The bed? Did you have to purchase a special bed of any kind? I had a hospital bed I rented, yes. Was that from the Crest Medical Supply? That's correct. What type of hospital bed was that? Will you describe it for me? Name it? Well, you can. Can you crank it up? Yes, and it had a trapeze, so I could pull myself up with this arm. Was that prescribed by any medical practitioner? Yes, Pacone, because I couldn't lay down flat. You just rented that? You didn't purchase it? Correct. Do you know what the purchase cost of one of those is? I have no idea. No. Okay, approximately how long did you have that bed? I believe I had it up until the end of somewhere in April 2013. Yes. You mentioned a chiropractor, I believe. I thought you said Firestone. Is it Firestone? Firestone. F-I-R-E? Yes. Do you know of any expenses that you have incurred as a result of this accident, other than your wage loss, your doctor and hospital bills, your prescription bills, and the medical bed? Having my hair done, that's important if you can't even get a comb to the back of your head. No, not offhand. I can't think of any. Do you know of anything that Mr. Manton could have done to avoid this accident? No, I don't know how to answer that. All right. So that concludes our Q&A practice for the 225 class.